Thank you, Director Family, for calling this press conference to order. It is a pleasing duty and an honor to be here again in my official capacity as the Deputy Minister of Press and Public Affairs of the Ministry of Information here. We want to join family in standing on the existing protocols to welcome the distinguished guests that are visiting us here today from the Ministry of Education and the National Road Fund. We've been on this job for the last 18 months or so. The Ministry of Education has been here on a number of occasions, and they have been very, very engaging in dealing with the Ministry of Information sharing, helping us to inform the public about what the government of Liberia is doing to revamp the education sector. Just a couple of days ago, we were joined in Nima County by the Deputy Minister who is here. He was representing the Minister at the government town hall, and he was very helpful in showing that timely information was disseminated to the public. Today they are here. And so, Anthony Yenkewa Fokpa is the Deputy Minister for Administration and the Ministry of Education. But he's here in his official capacity as the IT Minister of Education, because his boss is out of the country. Anthony Fokpa is here with a team of distinguished gentlemen and ladies. He will make the proper introduction when he mounts the podium. We also have represented here an entity of government which many of you know very little about, but they are the backbone of the government intervention in the road infrastructure. That entity is the National Road Fund. Mr. Abbott K. Samukai, the Chief Program Officer at the National Road Fund. He's also here with the team. He will make the introduction when he mounts the podium. But the Road Fund has made tremendous effort in the intervention that the government of Liberia has accomplished so far in maintaining and building new roads across the country. So they are here, and I'm sure beginning today, this will not be the first time here. We're going to be coming here regularly to alert the public on the intervention, the activities, the initiative of the National Road Fund. So let me, on behalf of the senior management team of the Ministry of Information, welcome all of you to the refurbish and historic Charles Bayon conference room here at the ministry. We got here, my friend Maxine Bitton will bear witness. This place, all of you bear testament to that. This place has undergone tremendous transformation. All of these transformations we're talking about here, we enjoy the ambience, the conducive nature of this place. It's headed by the Deputy Minister for Administration, Honorable Johnny S. Takwa. All of the administrative issues, making sure that Mika is giving a facelift, making sure that the conference room is renovated, microphones and everything working. These are all functions that fall within the ambit of the Deputy Minister for Administration. And so, here at the Ministry of Information, we're not just talking for the government. We are leading the charge to ensure that where the government speaks from can reflect not just the quality of people the President sends here, but the quality of governance that we have brought to national leadership. With that being said, I will now go into what I have to say from the perspective of the Ministry of Information. When I'm done, the Deputy Minister of Information, Education, and IT Minister, he will speak, and then he'll be followed by my good friend Abbott Samka from the National Road Fund. The two of them will speak, and then we will entertain some questions from the Fourth Estate as usual. So a lot is happening. You know very well that the President on yesterday took an administrative decision. And that decision is about the suspension of the Deputy Minister for Youth Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Mr. Bryant McGill. The suspension comes in the wake of allegation of his involvement in the rape of a minor. The decision by the Chief Executive is in line with the government of Liberia zero tolerance policy towards all forms of sexual and gender-based violence, and to also ensure that ongoing investigations are fair and transparent, void of any manipulation. Deputy Minister McGill will remain suspended until the conclusion of the investigation. And to that point, I'd like to say something further. As a country, we have to determine what we want for ourselves. And the way people want things to be done is wrong. Let me give you a flashback. Rape is a heinous crime. When somebody is accused of rape, I can understand the outrage from the public. But we have to be mindful that what takes place in the court is completely different from our outrage from the public. How many of you here can recall that in 2014, this whole country was rocked by protests or case involving the late India Tuba, the women group, the youth group, the civil society, the women activists, they protested every day for the accused, Hans William and his wife, to be arrested and detained. That sentiment, that chant of sentiment, deeply undermined the credibility of the investigation. There were two reports. One attributed the cause of death to another thing, another one attributed the cause of death to another thing. Now, for some of you who don't know what criminal investigation or prosecution is, when there is a single doubt in the prosecution, the court will take the side of the accused. And so the story goes. There were one protest after the other in the Injotapa case. What happened? The long of the short is, one contradiction after the other denied that innocent girl was killed with justice as she deserved. Understand? Those who were accused were set free by the High Court. Why? Because we try to infuse too much sentiment. Somebody goes to report a case. Say, man, 14-year-old daughter was abused by somebody. You are not even concerned about the well-being of the victim. All you're concerned about is that the police should go to arrest somebody without establishing probable cause to put a person in jail. In your mind, that is justice. But the well-being of the victim is not your concern. Where she is, what her condition is, it's not your concern. All you want is to be political about everything in the country, and you go holding placard, you want to protest. That's not how it will work. And the police have said, yesterday they spoke, had a press briefing. And one disgusting thing about our country is that even when stakeholders try to brief, they focus on certain issues. People who are the interviewer do not grab certain things. The police RG team granted an interview yesterday, and I showed some of you were there. The only question that kept coming back, why you arrested men yet? They told you they have collected CCTV footage from the crime scene, but they need to do DNA evidence. Why did they ask the RG, look, Jamale is here, why are you contacting the US Embassy? That's not your concern as a journalist. All you're concerned about, why haven't you arrested the man yet? At what point do we distinguish ourselves from those who do not know where it's supposed to be? At what point? Because somebody who is listening to you would think that the way to proceed is when anybody can ever leave their house, go to the police and say, oh, Minister Sandro raped me last night. And I'm behind the microphone, so you can hang up me and get me to jail. That is the definition of justice. It doesn't work like that. The criminal justice system, our system of jurisprudence is built on, require that before the rights of individuals can be curtailed, there has to be probable cause. And in the absence of that, you are simply asking the police to arrest anybody, to open a floodgate, that anybody can just go to the police and say, oh, somebody raped me, and the next day you are arrested, you are in jail. The police have 48 hours. Okay, they arrest you for 48 hours. What do they charge you with? Because beyond that preliminary investigation that is taking place at the police station, there is something called prosecution. You don't go to court on fishing expedition, hoping that the judge or the jury will buy into the sentiment. How the state loves the Injotapa case. They are seen us repeating the same mistake in this case. We didn't have to talk about it this way, but when people try to infuse sentiment into everything, then we have the obligation to provide the way forward. And the way forward here is not to take work away and go hold placard to the police station. Last day on the issue, the other day there was a lady at the court. She was crying. A Fuller lady. Somebody raped her child. And the case was thrown out of the court. She was crying. He said, because I'm a Fuller lady? So where are the activists? Did they see that woman? Or your activism is only just selective? This case has grown political interest because the person who is involved is supposed to be a government official. Well, I got news for you. The president has suspended him So he's no longer in that position. His suspension should be able or is sufficient enough to allay all of the fear that you had to say, oh, they meant because he deputy minister, so he untouchable. He's no more a deputy minister. He's suspended. So let us give the investigation the time that it is worth. And when the police establish, and I have to also mention that they are not doing the investigation all by themselves. The Ministry of Gender is involved. So this is not an all police affair. Good thing is that they have established that indeed the little girl was deflowered. So a crime was committed. Who committed the crime? We have to establish it before we go to court. They don't give the investigation a chance. Thank you. President Joseph Mwaka has welcomed the signing of the landmark production sharing contracts between the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, LPRA, and Total Engines. The agreement covered 4 offshore blocks in the Liberian basin. The 4 production sharing contracts, PSCs with Total Engines, covering 4 offshore blocks, Block 6, 11, 17, and 29, are all in the Liberian basin. The agreement became effective upon signature by His Excellency President Joseph Mwaka and ratification by the Liberian legislature. The signing of the production sharing contracts represents one of the most important foreign investment in Liberia oil and gas sector. As one of the world's largest integrated energy companies with a proven track record of deep water exploration across Africa and globally, Total Engines entry into Liberia's signal a renewed international confidence in the country's hydrocarbon potential. The company brings unmatched technical expertise, financial capacity, and industry-leading standards in safety, environment, and social responsibility. According to the Director General of the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the signing of these production sharing contracts with Total Engines ends a decade-long pause on Liberia's offshore petroleum program, marks a positive turning point in the country's energy future, and sends a vote of confidence in the reforms that are taking place to attract responsible operators. The partnership offers not only potential for resource development, but also concrete opportunities for local capacity building, knowledge transfer, and sustainable growth for Liberia. In 2014, President Mwaka invited world-class energy companies to Liberia and pledged that under his leadership, the country will provide an environment where investment flourishes under ethics, the rule of law, international best practices, and strict adherence of contract to protect all stakeholders. The execution of the agreement with Total Energy demonstrates that the pledge by His Excellency is now bearing fruit. The President commended the LPRA leadership and acknowledged the contribution of the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, the National Oil Company of Liberia Local, and its Special Presidential Committee on Oil and Gas. Liberia's fisheries sector has taken a historic step towards modernization as the government of Japan and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and the National Fisheries and Agriculture Authority, NAFA, jointly inaugurated a state-of-the-art fish processing facility in Little Bassa, Compound 1, Grand Bassa County. The new facility, fully equipped with modern fish processing technology, solar power freezers, and sea safety materials, is expected to drastically cut post-harvest losses, improve food quality, and empower women fish moggers across Liberia's 9 coastal counties. For years, Liberia's fisheries sector has been plagued by low productivity, unsafe fishing practices, and high post-harvest losses. Fish processors, primarily women, have relied on traditional smoking techniques that produce heavy smoke, pose severe health risks, and contaminate the fish with harmful chemicals. The facility is funded among the 3-year project strengthening capacity in fishery and rice cultivation sector for food security and nutrition improvement. It's funded by the government of Japan, was designed to respond to these challenges through a comprehensive approach. The project's 4 annual objectives include enhancing small-scale fisheries and sea safety, improving livelihood of fish processors, particularly women, promoting integrated rice fish farming system, and strengthening interagency collaboration to combat IUU fishing. The newly launched facility features the FO trial processing technique, a proven technology introduced in over 20 countries that reduces smoke emission, improves fuel efficiency, and delivers high quality, long-lasting fish products. On yesterday, the 17th of September, the government of Liberia signed a country program framework for 2026 to 2030 with the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, in Vienna, Austria. The country program framework between Liberia and the IAEA outlines priority areas for IAEA technical cooperation in Liberia over the next 5 years, particularly in agriculture, health, and environmental protection. Agriculture Minister J. Arizona Nunta signed on behalf of the government of Liberia, while Mr. Halu, IAEA Deputy Director General and Head of the Department of Technical Cooperation, signed for the IAEA. The Country Program Framework, CPF, was developed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Liaison Office, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Ministry of Agriculture, Health, as well as the United Nations partners such as the UNDP, FAO, and the World Health Organization. The Country Program Framework is fully aligned with Liberia's National Development Plan, the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development, which prioritizes food security, infrastructure governance, human capital development, sanitation, and a lot more. The CPF 5-year plan identifies 5 priority areas: nuclear radiation safety and security, establishing a comprehensive regulatory framework and independent authority. Food. 2. Food and agriculture, improving crops and livestock productivity, food and safety, and sustainable soil and water management through nuclear technology. Health and nutrition, establishing a radiotherapy facility and applying nuclear techniques to assess materials and child nutrition. Energy and industry, enhancing national capacity in energy planning using IEA tool and supporting national strategy development. Water and environment, building technical capacity to apply isotopic techniques for sustainable water resource management. Liberia joined the IEA in 1962 and has since promoted a peaceful application of nuclear technology. In recent years, the country has renewed its participation in the IEA's Technical Cooperation Program. The Governance Commission has concluded a one-day policy dialogue on revitalization and rewriting of an inclusive and comprehensive history for Liberia. The dialogue, which was held on the theme History of the Nation State, Pathway to Reconciliation, Healing, and Peace, brought together Liberian historians, officials of government, civil society actors, international partners, and student leaders. Of course, the media was there. The dialogue is a call for writing a history that will record and honor both suffering and triumph. A history that will not shy away from telling the uncomfortable truth, but rather use them as a stepping stone towards justice, freedom, popular participation, and unity. The Governance Commission says it holds a depository of materials from the earlier Liberian National History Project, which was stalled due to lack of funding. These materials, according to them, will be available to the team or structure that will continue the history writing project. The process of writing an inclusive history for Liberia was reiterated by His Excellency during his last annual message, and the Governance Commission has now taken steps to elevate that. So last week it was announced that the Ministry of Labor has increased the price of the work permit for alien from $1,000 US to $3,000. I just want to emphasize that our decision is a whole of government decision and not just a decision by the Ministry of Labor. And what is the rationale? The rationale thereof is to take the permit from the hands of foreigners, thereby allowing Liberians to have access to these jobs. Initially, it was 1,000. Anybody here come here pay 1,000. So the higher the fare, the most likely more aliens are to get job in Liberia at the disadvantage of Liberian citizens. So it's a decision that was taken by the chief executive. It's a decision of the government and not just a decision taken by the ministry or the Minister of Labor. I get to emphasize that. Lastly, before we take the acting Minister of Education, I just want to announce that also on yesterday the government launched a National Youth Service Program in Liberia. The program is a government-backed initiative being implemented by the Ministry of Youth and Sports and is dedicated to empowering youth and women through structured service, skills development, and civic engagement. With 10 programmatic pillars, the operations in more than 10 counties, the National Service Program is a flagship effort to align Liberia's development strategy with its national goals for peace, unity, and progress. The program is not simply another initiative. It is a promise to invest in the young people of our country, expand opportunities, and ensure that no Liberian is left behind. The National Youth Service Program is designed to empower more than 20,000 youth and women across 10 counties through a comprehensive 10-part framework. Key components of the program include community service, vocational training, mentorship, civic education, sanitation, and literacy program. So we'll get one of the deputy ministers, maybe the minister of youth and sports will come here maybe next week Thursday to further expand on of course the intent of the program is clear, but we'll get one of the deputy ministers of the Ministry of Youth and Sport, not the one who is suspended, but the ones that are currently There are many decent gentlemen at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. It is just unfortunate that we have this situation. But again, that's what we are. With that being said, let me now invite the distinguished Acting Minister of Education and to the forward to the podium. Mr. Acting Minister of Information. Acting Minister of Information. Deputy Ministers, our colleagues from the law firm. We are here this morning from the Ministry of Education. I've come with a Deputy Minister, Thomas Parker, who is the Deputy Minister the Assistant Minister for Planning, and Acting Deputy Minister for Planning. I'm also here with my Assistant Minister for Early Childhood Education, this is Pasam Haro Enswa, and our media team. We're glad to be here. As you heard, I am only here because my boss, the Minister of Education, Chaso Mali Jala, is out of the country on official business. That's why I'm here. And you also heard that this is my first time addressing the BKL press briefing on behalf of the current leadership at the Ministry of Education. Before I go into what I have to say, I just want all of you sitting on the other side of the camera of this podium to know that a little over 2 decades ago, I also was seated on that side of this podium and asking questions. Just so you know. So I used to be the managing editor of the newspaper. I ran that paper from 1996 until I fled the country in 2000. So I know about where you sit. I have asked questions also of people standing behind this podium. So every time I come here, it's a surreal moment for me. There are many great minds and members of our fraternity that have gone to rest. So if you don't mind, I will ask you to stand as we pay homage to our brothers and sisters who have gone on to the great beyond. And I will just name a few of them. The great Joe Moduba was Information Minister here. Charles Bale, in whose memory this hall is named. The great John Bambo, Rufus Tabo, Musu Haddad, Bill Inouye,
Bobby Thompson, Philip Wilson, and a host of all of our young friends and brothers who labor to make sure you all will have the opportunity to sit where you sit and ask the questions of public officials. May their souls continue to rest in peace. Thank you. These are the seats. This morning, I would like to begin this address by first speaking to the issue of the volunteer teachers. You know, our cardinal responsibility at the Ministry of Education is to make sure we provide affordable, accessible, and equitable education to all children of Liberia. That is what we're trying to do. In this process, we've had some great sons and daughters of this country who have stepped forward to fill voids in our classroom. Those are the people we are now calling volunteer teachers. They're volunteer teachers because the communities they found themselves in, they realized that there were needs to step forward in the classroom to teach our brothers and sisters. So they stepped forward and volunteered. Those are people who were not captured on our payroll and on the CSA processing routine. So when the minister took office, she toured the country and she commissioned an assessment of all the volunteer teachers across the country. That assessment and evaluation showed that we had about 6,198 volunteer teachers in our classrooms who were now on payroll. Then the minister commissioned another exercise to determine the competency and the capability of those who were in our classroom. Having done that, the minister, during the last budget year, this current budget year that's about to conclude, petitioned the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and the legislature for funding to enroll about 2,000 of our volunteer teachers who were vetted, qualified, on the payroll. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, in concert with the legislature, said they could provide funding for 1,000 volunteers to be enrolled on the payroll. Then, on our own volition, having realized that there were many, many teachers in our classroom and on our payroll, who refused to go to the areas of assignment. There are teachers on the payroll who, for example, supposed to be assigned in Grand Jide, in Bon County, in Dofa, in Bakuru, and other places, who were taking salaries and leaving our children unattended in the classroom. So we did the assessments and we identified around 1,000 of such teachers. We gave them the opportunity to come to the Ministry of Education to show reason why they should not be removed from the classroom owing to the fact that they abandoned our classroom and left our children unattended. Because about 1,000 of them could not show any valid reason why they were not in our classrooms, we removed 1,000 of them from the payroll and replaced them with 1,000 volunteer teachers, the actual people who were in our classroom doing the work. So because of that, we submitted 2,084 personnel action notices for volunteer teachers to the CSA to enroll them on the government payroll. That's the 1,000 supported by the NFDP, and another 1,084 identified by us through our own internal payroll cleaning process. So we've now submitted 2,084 personnel action notices for volunteer teachers to the CSE. Now, when we submit the papers to the CSE, we can only now follow up with the CSA relative to their process leading to enrolling the volunteers on the payroll. That aspect of the process we do not entirely control, but we can influence. Hence, we've had several interactions with the CSA, urging them to speed up the enrollment of our volunteer teachers on the payroll, because they are important and critical to the success of our academic sector. So as of this morning, on my way here, I contacted the CSA to ask how far we were with enrolling the volunteer teachers on the payroll. I was told, and I will state, that as of this morning, 417 volunteer teachers have been processed to receive salaries for September. An additional 600 volunteers, personnel action notices have been processed. They are on the DG desk for signature. They will come on for October. But the CSA assure us that between now and the end of October, they will do all that they can do to ensure that our volunteer teachers are all enrolled on the payroll. So that's the status on the volunteer teachers. It was important for us to provide this information because we're told that our volunteer teachers are now beginning to feel that we do not care about them, and some of them were trying to retort to demonstration and other actions. So to those volunteer teachers, I want to let them know that we see them, we hear them, and we're here working for them because we value the work they do to teach and mold the minds of our children. Let them know that we see them and we hear them. And every day we are at the Ministry of Education, we will continue to work for them to ensure that those who are actually doing the work in our classrooms can be the ones that are on the payroll. And the payroll cleaning exercise at the Ministry of Education will continue as we identify more teachers who are on the payroll and refusing to take their assignments, and certainly moreover are in collusion with the DEO or CEO or some principal and stay getting salaries. I want such teachers to know that we are coming for them. So if you are a teacher, you are on the government payroll, and you are assigned to a particular school, and you refuse to go to your area of assignment, yet you are taking pay, beware that we are onto you very soon. We'll clean up the payroll and put those who are most deserving to be on the payroll. On another day, I will speak about tap-offs of the government teachers' salaries. Over 9,000 teacher salaries have been tapped off. Working with the NFDP, we've upgraded the salaries of over 9,000 teachers who we felt deserve better salaries. It's going to take some time to get to the level of salary we feel that they should be making. There are fiscal constraints, and we do not entirely control the process of tapping of government payroll, government teacher salaries, but we will continue to work with the NFDP to ensure that every day we advocate so that those who are in charge of the future of our children are handsomely and fairly compensated. So over 9,000 of our teachers' salaries have been cut off. Today, there's not a single teacher making below $185 on our payroll. Let me repeat. Today, there's not a single teacher on the Ministry of Education payroll making less than $185. Because we've advocated to carry that salary up, and each year, we are at the ministry, we will continue to advocate for improvement in the salaries and working conditions. I just wanted to state that for the record. I would also now like to turn to the issue of the academic calendar. That's the instrument we use to make the regulations for the school academic year. Anything relative to fees, school closure, we put all that information in the academic calendar and we serve it to all schools, both public and private. Of late, we've had contentions from some of the private schools relative to the power we have to regulate how much they can charge for graduation and other things. I want you to know this. The Education Reform Act of 2011, Chapter 9, Section 9.1G. Can you say that? The Education Reform Act of 2011, Chapter 9, Section 9.1G gives us the power to set fees and charges for all schools. That section is specific to private schools, faith-based schools, and community schools. So if you are a proprietor of a private school, faith-based school, or community school, and you have any doubt relative to the authority we have, or the source of the authority to set fees, I refer you to Section 9.1G of the Education Reform Act. Having said that, I would now like to be clear on the issue of graduation fees. We've had many complaints about graduation fees. Parents are calling from all across the country because the schools, notwithstanding the fees that we've specified in the academic calendar, some have chosen to take matters in their own hands and charge our students astronomical fees. The academic calendar states that the graduation fee for 12th grade public school is 5,000 Liberian dollars. Public school 12th grade graduation fee is 5,000 Liberian dollars. Private school 12th grade 100 US dollars. 6th and 9th grade public school 3,500 Liberian dollars. 6th and 9th grade public school 3,500 Liberian dollars. Private schools 6,000 Liberian dollars. Kindergarten public school graduation fee 2,500 Liberian dollars. Private school 5,000 Liberian dollars. We wanted to state this for the record. First, we show you the source of our authority to set fees. We're now telling you about the fees, and we'd like to inform all of our partners in the education space and encourage them to abide by these fees. Because the law also gives us the authority to fine people who are found to be in violation. And indeed, some schools have been fined. We don't find pleasure in fining schools. So we ask every proprietor out there, abide by these fees. This government, as with every government, has the sole responsibility to make sure education is affordable and accessible. The reason why there are private operators and community operators in the education space, because the government cannot be everywhere. But that does not give any operator in the space the right to violate the regulations of the Ministry of Education. That will not be tolerated. Any school falling afoul of this will exercise our power given to us under the Education Act, which permits us to fine, and if the violation is persistent and consistent, to take other actions consistent with the Education Act. We will not hesitate to take those actions. So, my friends, my brothers, on the other side of the microphone, we urge you as you go around and you talk to people, encourage them to abide by the fee structure of the Ministry of Education. Those are the fees. The law permits administrative bodies and agencies through the act creating them, some, to charge fees and regulate fees. We're just doing what the law permits us to do. And we encourage everyone to abide by the law, to abide by these regulations. So before every academic semester, we give the academic calendar to everybody, they are aware. Should they choose now not to abide by these regulations, then we will bring to bear the full weight of the power given us under the Education Act. So we don't want to have a problem with people. We want to encourage them to do the right thing. If you are a proprietor of a school or you're running school and you have not yet received the academic calendar, consult the Department of Instruction headed by Deputy Minister Amos Amafole, who is just joining us, and the academic calendar will be available. The calendar is also available on the Ministry of Education website. So this information is public. People should go there, read it, and show that they abide by the law. Okay? We have the power to regulate the education space, and will not permit anybody to act outside of the regulations that we provide. That will not be accepted because now in the interest of our children. I just wanted to say that. Let me now turn to the issue of infrastructure, teacher training, policy reforms, and student performance. You are aware that just a few weeks ago, the president dedicated the model school in Kangar-Lawrence County, and the vice president dedicated the model school in Kangar-Lawrence County. The need to build those schools stemmed from the fact that our public school classrooms were overcrowded. So we needed to provide additional classrooms to depopulate our classrooms so that our classrooms are not overcrowded unnecessarily. 3 of those schools have been built in Kakata, in Banga, and in Kanta. For we have now given entrance exams to students who desire to go to that school, and we've selected the students to go to that school. We've conducted recruitment exercises for the administrative staff that will run those schools. Just so you are aware, the recruitment exercise was done largely by an extended group of people. We requested the help of Dr. Kasser from the Teachers College, University of Liberia, Lopu from the EU, who is the head of EU education at the EU, because we wanted to make sure the process of recruitment was free and fair. We wanted to make sure that those who were recruited to come to our classroom represented the very best that will be entering our classroom. So that process has been completed for the school in Ganta and in Banga. We are completing the finishing touches on the school in Kakata. So we cannot say the school in Kakata will open for this academic semester, but the school will be completed in the next week. We wanted you to know that. We also wanted you to know that we were back on renovation of some of our schools across the country. In all the 15 counties, we've identified schools that were badly in need of renovation. Not all the schools, because we don't have the resources to renovate all the schools at this time. So we've embarked on renovation of some of our schools, and those renovations are about complete as our students are ready to begin the academic year. For teacher training, we have rolled out the V certificate programs, Excel RTTI, and WRTTI. Prior to us doing that, the B certificate program was only at KRTTI in Kalata. That was defeating the purpose for which these schools were located regionally. The school in Webo is supposed to cater to our brothers and sisters in the southeast. The school in Zozo, ZRTPR, is supposed to cater to Bong, Lofa, and Nimba. And the school in Kanata is supposed to cater to Magibi, Morovia, and the western region. So to have the B certificate only in Kanata, we felt were just shortchanging our brothers and sisters across the country. So we've now rolled that out across all of our TTIs. So our students are being trained right now. We have equipped about 28 of our schools with modern science labs. We've also equipped 156 of our senior secondary schools with digital computer labs. The desire of the Minister of Education and the team at the Ministry of Education is to ensure that over the next few years, all of our senior secondary schools can have modern science labs and modern computer labs. Today, the Minister and the team have embarked on the procurement process to equip a further 50 of our senior secondary schools with modern science lab. That process will be completed and the laboratory equipment will be deployed in those schools before the end of the year. There are many things happening in the sector. As you heard, the government of Liberia just signed both a combination of a grant and a loan program for $89-point-something million to focus on strengthening early childhood and foundational learning across our schools. On the Excel programs, we will construct or renovate 100 primary schools across the country. We will take a particular time to come by here, Mr. Minister, to speak specifically on the Excel program and great things that the Excel program is supposed to deliver. But I just wanted to give you a teaser. So great things are happening across the sector. We will continue to come here to update you. I don't have all the time to be speaking because there are many more things that I will be speaking on. But I am told that I have to leave it at that. and take questions. The next time I'm here, I will expand more on most of the other things that are happening in our sector. Thank you very much for having me.
Deputy Minister Sano, Deputy Minister for Administration at the Ministry of Information, colleagues from the Ministry of Education present here, my colleagues from the National Road Fund. I'm pleased to introduce two of my colleagues who have joined me today for this press briefing. I believe this is the first from the National Road Fund, and myself in particular. So I have with me Mr. Victor Wallace, who is the Director for Resource Mobilization at the National Road Fund of Liberia. I also have with me Mr. Timothy Zizefili, who is a senior accountant also at the National Road Fund. Today, we are particularly honored to be addressing the Liberian people through the Ministry of Information regular press briefing. This is our debut here at the Charles Boyle Press Hall. I'm also pleased to be representing our dynamic fund manager, Madam Josita Novia Wanto. She's currently out of the country, attending the executive meeting of the Africa Road Fund Maintenance Association. As you may know, she serves as an executive committee member, particularly for recruitment of that August body. Before I go into my presentation, I also want to thank the Ministry of Information under the leadership of Minister Pia for the work they're doing here in helping to disseminate the wonderful work that is being done all across the government of Liberia. And so today my focus will be on the financing of road projects across the country, the activities that we're doing at the National Road Fund, and of course I'll be providing an update. For some of you who don't know, Liberia has been selected to host the 22nd Conference General Assembly of the Africa Road Maintenance Fund in Liberia from the 17th to the 21st of November 2025. This conference, we believe, will invite more than 200 international guests coming to the shores of Liberia. As I go through my presentation, I'll provide more updates on that. At the National Road Fund, again under the leadership of Madam Josita Wento, a very young, inspiring leader, we've embarked on some real transformative initiatives at the National Road Fund of Liberia. And I'm pleased to just provide a few of those updates in terms of what we're doing there. As you would know, the National Road Fund of Liberia was established in 2016 and became operational in 2018. And the purpose for that was to generate revenue for the maintenance and rehabilitation of roads across the country through petroleum products. But as we survey the landscape and global events, we are anticipating and recognizing that we cannot solely be reliant on the fees on the importation of petroleum products. And therefore, we've gone ahead to develop a revenue diversification strategy. What that strategy does is that it takes into account identifying many other different streams of our revenue base that we could use to generate additional revenue for the maintenance and rehabilitation of roads across the country, while we gradually move away from the over-reliance on the importation of petroleum products. The strategy has laid a framework for us to identify areas that we could invest in and be able to generate additional money for road financing. So some of the areas that we've identified in the policy is vehicle registration. We've also identified the Axle Load program as one of the areas that we could generate revenue while preserving our roads. And most importantly, toll roads. So these are areas that we've identified that in the coming months and period, we're going to be investing in to diversify our revenue generation and expand the funds that we generate for road construction across the country. The toll policy. Working with the Ministry of Public Works, with support from the World Bank, we're going to be developing the national toll policy. That policy will provide the framework for the building and operation of toll roads across the country. We're expecting by the end of this year, the policy will be finished and launched, and then we will now move into securing financing and partnership for the building of toll roads across the country. As we build this infrastructure, we're not just building them to leave them in isolation. We want to encourage the public that we now have to position ourselves that we do not just see the construction of roads as a social good, and so we treat it anyhow. We at the National Road Fund, as we explore innovative ways for financing of roads, we are instituting policies that will preserve the infrastructure that we've invested in already. And so the Axle Load program is just one of the programs that serves as a preventive mechanism for the roads that we're building. As we move towards second generation and third generation institution that is corporate, moving towards market capitalization, we have to see the roads that we build as a capital asset, and we have to treat it with such. And that's why, working with the Ministry of Transport, we've launched our Axle Load program, installing the weight bridge at Clay Junction, where vehicles traveling that route, the vehicles are weighed, and the fee is charged on those vehicles. In the coming period, by the end of October, as per the Axle Load law, there will be penalties imposed on overweight vehicles. So vehicles that is driving beyond the normal weight on the road, you will be charged $40 per violation on each ton above. So we're working with a private company to institute that, and we're going to be rolling it all across the country. So as we build the roads, we're going to preserve it so that it pays for itself over time, and not just throwing the money on the ground. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is, as you know, the agenda is called inclusive development. And so everything that we try to do at the National Road Fund is to include our stakeholders along. We've developed a program called the Community-Based Organization Program. That program is a labor-based approach that we use to maintain feeder, secondary, and primary roads, particularly using community dwellers, especially the young people. And so we've launched that program working with the Ministry of Public Works and the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We've financed and supported the maintenance of 1,800 kilometers of roads. Now, the CBO program, the youth are recruited, and what happens is that they're responsible to do vegetation control, sidewalk brushing, drainage cleaning, to ensure that the road is safe and is viable to all users at all times. And under this program, we expect to create short-term jobs of more than 2,000 for rural youth. So as we go along, we are trying to include the community in the development of the country, leaving no one behind. And that's why the program seriously emphasizes on the involvement of community, the participation of community. And I think somebody would want to ask, but then why are you bringing internal affairs? And that's the answer to that. As we go along implementing these programs, we're not doing it in a vacuum. We're doing it in strategic alignment with the AAID, particularly Pillar 2 of their arrest agenda. To date, 2025, we've been able, the National Road Fund, to finance 697 kilometers of roads all across the country, just for the period 2025. As we do these things, we have to be cognizant that the National Road Fund is a public institution. The money that we generate is from the public, is from the road users, and so we owe them accountability and transparency. I'm sure most of you over the period have heard some stories about the National Road Fund. But again, under the able leadership of our fund manager, we've been able to turn that corner. So to that point, we've instituted a Senate as fund manager, internal control and financial management system, to ensure that the road fund, the money that is being generated from there, is used for the intended purpose. And so over the period, there were audits being conducted from 2018 to 2019, 2021 to 2022. And with the systems that we've put into place, we've seen the audit score of the National Road Fund increase from 33% to 85%. We expect that score to be revised to more than 90% over the coming weeks by the GAC. And let me put this out there, that these audits, the period for the audit being conducted preceded the fund manager, the current fund manager. So she was not the fund manager at that time for the period that the audit conducted. But she has gone ahead to institute measures that will strengthen financial management in internal control system. So we thought to make that. One of the other reasons that we've come here today, as I spoke about it in my intro, is that Liberia has been selected to host the 22nd General Assembly of the Africa Road Maintenance Fund Association in Liberia. This is a big moment for the country, for the National Road Fund. The Africa Road Maintenance Fund Association, if you may not know or know, is a conglomeration of more than 35 Africa Road Funds across the continent. And so one may ask, what do they do? So the AMFA, in short, is a platform where road fund bodies meet to discuss ideas, share research findings, and share knowledge in terms of the financing of roads across the African continent. And so we're very pleased that Liberia has formed a very strong voice in that body. And we have more than 200 plus participants, making of CEOs from road funds across the country, some of them managing $500 million budget. We have business leaders and financiers. We have researchers, academics, civil society organizations coming, converging on our national capital. The importance, somebody would ask, why is it important like you? What significance does this conference bring to Liberia? Well, we say it's an opportunity for our local businesses, our construction companies to network and explore potential partnerships with other institutions from across the African continent. Also, the conference positioned the National Road Fund of Liberia and the government as a critical voice in Africa infrastructure financing and development. But even more importantly, this conference demonstrates the governments of Liberia unwavering commitment to infrastructure development and respecting and supporting the African Union Agenda 2063 as far as the integration of the African continent is concerned through infrastructure development. In conclusion, we are working with Liberian businesses. This is an opportunity for Liberian businesses to explore potential partnerships and financing arrangements, especially construction companies. Some of the guests represent companies that use high tech for the financing, the construction of roads, showing efficiency in financing for the construction of roads. And so this would be an opportunity for them to tap into that, build a network, and then Liberia can benefit. But beyond that, it's also going to expose our country, our beautiful country. We have some beautiful tourist sites that they're going to be visiting. We're going to ensure that they do that. And we would just hope that some of the participants or the delegates can find interest in investing in our tourism sector. So on that note, I want to thank again the Ministry of Information for the opportunity given us at the National Road Fund just to talk briefly to the Liberian people and to explain the progress we're making for the preparation of the 22nd General Assembly of the African Road Fund Association. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kamala. Thank you, Steve. You have a seat. Listen to the Acting Minister of Education and the Road Fund. It's coming to you. Please do not be recommended.